back, everyone. This video might be a little bit on the artsy side. On one of the previous videos, Richard Darwin posted for me a video from a Scavian band. Now, if you don't know what Scavian means, it's a word that refers to the ska counterculture. Yes, there's a word for that. The ska counterculture, they are known as Scavians. Now, he posted this wonderful video, this music, this song. So I'll play it for you now.
If you have a racist brain, now is the time for your fashion to end. Be it your sister, be it your brother.
Alright, so one of the things that I find interesting is that, that was in response to how I continuously talk to Chick Micken, even with his homophobic rhetoric, and I being a homosexual, it's kind of funny, but I think this plays into a very old goth punk sort of tradition. Now, this is a copy here of one of my Virgin Prune vinyls. One of the early goth punk bands. And ironically, funny, on this vinyl, if I hold it to the light right, you won't be able to see this on camera. But somebody has etched into the vinyl if I can find it. I'm looking exactly where I saw it, where I found it. But somebody has etched into the vinyl of this Virgin Prune album Hail Hitler. And it's funny because it seems as though as goth is the sister to punk. It is an off-branch of punk, much like ska is related to punk. And there's a lot of reggae beats that went into playing like early punk stuff, or the predecessor to punk. And a lot of it is very anti-fascist. But then you also see like goths like me talking against socialism and stuff, and it's so confusing. It's like, what's going on? There's all these people that came to the goth community, and you will find racist, fascist goths, like people who came to the goth community as fascists. And it's really confusing. But I think that there's a reason why. It's almost like we were pretending to sort of blend in with them so we could mock them by showing up Nazi imagery or talking or socializing with Nazis or fascists or these sort of radical right-wing or religious fundamentalists so we could ultimately mock them. And I think the Goth community did a really good job at that. So here we have fascists and right-wing, like very conservative, weird people siding and hanging out with these Goths. And meanwhile, they're perpetuating female empowerment, homoeroticism, anti-religious imagery, anti-religious messages, anti-fascist messages, anti-racist messages, and they don't even know that it's there, because all they notice is the fascist imagery, that which we in turn make fun of. Let me show you some examples. A very old Gothic tradition of showing Nazi imagery and then perpetuating ideas like female empowerment, homoeroticism, and anti-religious views, as well as anti-racism. A very old Gothic tradition of showing Nazi imagery and then perpetuating ideas like female empowerment.
I find it attractive. I mean, I love shiny black rubber, and I love wearing it. It feels great and sexy to wear. So I like to feel sexy all the time.
Now that lovely lady that you see is Gitane Demone, and she originally played with Christian Death, Roz Williams, the guy that you see draped in a swastika flag. Some people debate on whether or not Roz Williams was into Nazism. He was actually more fixated and focused on the helter-skelter thing from Charles Manson because he was interested, not fascinated. His words, when he was said he was interested or fascinated, his words to the interviewer were not fascinated, it was interested in how serial killers think. So that's why he was interested in things like Helter Skelter and Charles Manson. Roz Williams himself was a homosexual. This is not a secret at all. And Gitane Demone is an absolute she is an absolute living example of female empowerment. You're talking about a woman that also goes by the name of a demonatrix. She is a dominatrix. So, little information on Gitane Demone. A very old Gothic tradition of showing Nazi imagery and then perpetuating ideas like female empowerment, homoeroticism, homoeroticism.
When we were in Dublin in the late 70s, there was massive unemployment. There was repression. There was the Catholic Church had a very strong grasp on morals. Not only was homosexuality illegal, but condoms and contraception was illegal. It was a very grim, grey city, and we were fighting against that.
How?
by telling them to fuck off. I mean, the Virgin Prunes were very angry band. We were fighting by backing against religious suffocation. We were expressing our sexuality. We were trying to break down barriers. I don't know how exactly it wasn't planned out, but we were angry young men, and we screamed, and then the country rejected us. The image in Ireland was that Manhattan had arrived to Dublin. Yeah, no, like in the 70s and the 80s, with the sort of mass unemployment and mass immigration. These places just let rot. There was no amenities, there was no shops, no chemists, nothing. And then there was a heroin epidemic, and it just became hell, actually. And as teenagers, we thought was some great American socialist dream turned into a living nightmare. And it became a very big poignant thing that we want to get out of here. This was like it was a real something to kick against again, something to get away from. And a lot of people today just talk about the modern Ireland, or the mystical Ireland, the poetic Ireland, James Joyce Ireland, or the new Ireland, which is sort of like fastest growing economy in Europe, blah blah blah. But they don't talk about where it came from, and all of that. This is sort of the roots area. I and my friends in Lipton Village did not want to play football. We did not want to be in the civil service. We did not want to be hanging around the shops, drinking cider. We did not want. So we felt rejected, and we wanted to be rejected from society at the time. And we would come to places like this, where most people would say, look at the fucking queers going up the Gitane Garden. It was like a refuge, a haven, you know. I always wanted something more beautiful. And maybe
If you didn't know, that was Gavin Friday from the Virgin Prunes, you know, the vinyl that has the words Hail Hitler etched into it. He was talking about he wanted to be different from society. And everybody was like, look at the fucking queers, look at the puffs. He was saying that they were rebelling against the church for being homophobic, for being unsexually liberated. And then he watched this socialist nightmare create, just completely collapse in on itself. Does that remind you of a goth you might know? Like, maybe, I don't know, a goth that's talked against socialism, but it's been kind of for mixed economies, and has also, I don't know, spoken out against religion and sort of told the religious right to kind of fuck off. And does that sound familiar? I don't know. You might be on that goth person's channel. Sounds very familiar, right? But yeah, that was Gavin Friday from Virgin Prunes. So much for Hail Hitler, huh? So what is it that made these Nazis flock to a goth band like the Virgin Prunes that were trying to tell basically the religious right to fuck off? That's an interesting question, isn't it? a very old Gothic tradition of showing Nazi imagery and then perpetuating ideas like female empowerment, homoeroticism, and anti-religious views, as well as anti-racism. What this reads is, it's about Roz Williams and the Nazism surrounding him. It's hard to say, as Roz Williams isn't around to answer for sure. He committed suicide, I believe, back in 1999. There are devoted Rozz fans who certainly believe it to all be serious, though. But does that say more about what he was, or people's mentality and interpretation of it all today? This again, as mentioned before, most Roz acquaintances can vouch that he never had sincere connections or sympathies to Nazism or fascism. Listening to Non or Manson most definitely didn't make up the majority of his musical taste, and there are reasons besides sympathies one can have to listen to artists such as them. Let's not forget, he often identified and found himself attracted to the Dada movement, which had strongly socialist meanings. The social norms at the time were also different from now. Other groups and people were using extreme imagery from Nazism and communism to communicate points through provocation. This can be vouched for his behavior from the fact on Rosnet that he was very open to experimentation with imagery. While it would be impossibly best to ask him yourself, the general consensus is that it wasn't genuine. The death on my lips. The death on my lips. I'm sorry, that's a really good song by Corpus Delicti. I chose a really gothic punk band to be the outro and intro of this video. There will be songs by Corpus Delicti. I will have links to all this stuff that I have shown you in the description below. Well, I'll have links to the interview with Gavin Friday. Well, it's actually just Virgin Prunes in general. I'll have a link to the Gitane Demone interview. And I'll try to find a link to that very specific article I read about Roz Williams. But it was my understanding that, I don't think the National Socialists would really agree with Roz Williams' lifestyle, considering he engaged in mass orgies. He at one point didn't know if he was HIV positive or not, but was pretty sure that he was, and it was his boyfriend that discovered him dead and after committing suicide. His boyfriend. Okay? His boyfriend. And I'm pretty sure that Evo Halo broke up with him or divorced him because he was having sex with men and he realized his homosexuality, and it's even captured in some of his lyrics, like Spectre, or I think the name of the song is Against the Wall. He sings about like a cute boy in Berlin or something that he had a crush on. And here's a short little screenshot of the Virgin Prunes. It's very homoerotic. That was a way of telling the Catholic Church to fuck off. It was a way of telling the National Socialists to fuck off. So, yeah, Susie Sue had swastikas, and she also wore... there's also pictures of Susie Sue wearing a t-shirt with a Star of David, and yes, Roz Williams draped himself in a Nazi flag, but then would engage in acts of homosexuality, and and group sex. He would rip these flags up on stage, including the American flag, including the Confederate flag. He would rip them up on stage. This is a form of mockery. This is a form of mockery. So, like, yeah, like, I will keep conversations open to, you know, these National Socialists that find my channels, these neo-Nazis that find my channels, the National Socialists that find my channel. I'll keep an open conversation. But no, I don't agree with these weird ideals that they have because, again, goth is the dark sister to punk. Like, as Evo Halo explained it, the birth of death rock or goth rock in America started that you had the punk scene, and there were the punks that were into the darker side of things. They got together and sort of created death rock or goth rock, death punk, dark punk, whatever you want to call it. It is the sister to punk, but it is a little bit different. I think a lot of people from the goth community, or people who are goth, see that pure socialism, pure communism sinks and it gets trashed. And there's many gothic songs that just are blatantly nihilistic, that says that everything comes to an end. All kingdoms crash. All kingdoms fall. There's even newer goth bands that still sing about that, like Amenta Descending by what the fuck is the name of that band? They're a newer band. I can't remember the name. Whispers and Shadows. They say they all, from Alexandria to Rome, they all did fall. Yeah, we will fall. It's nihilistic, but as Andy Sexgang says, I've always been an idealist, and I will be an idealist when I die. Until the day that I die. But the thing is that in our idealism, accepting the reality that it won't happen. Because the world is cruel, dark, twisted, and fucked up. So I do find it interesting that some of these, people with very, very philosophical or very, very social, opposite of my social political views, find my channel, and they converse with me, and they go, you're a pretty rational guy. Well, yeah, I'm a realist. But that doesn't mean that I agree with these extreme right authoritarian ways of... They don't fucking work. None of it fucking works. None of these weird utopian bullshit fuckery ideas fucking work. None of them fucking work. It's been proven time and time and time and time and time again. I've illustrated this multiple times. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, because a very old Gothic tradition of showing Nazi imagery and then perpetuating ideas like female empowerment, homoeroticism, and anti-religious views, as well as nihilism, anti-racism, is an interesting thing, isn't it? And I think if you were to go through many of the Gothic bands, and watching Gitane Demone's interview from the 80s again, it speaks volumes to me, because to me, I'm like her. To me, like, goth, people were calling me goth before I even knew what that word was or what that meant. And it wasn't so much that I had to fit into it as it fit me. So, it's not that I'm anti-fashion, anti-conformity, and pro-individualism, because the Goth community is. It's just I happen to agree with those principles. I don't have to fit into the Goth community. I fit into it. So for me, it's a way of life. And so for the fact that there are Goth channels out there talking about fashion is a very smack in the face. And yes, they do speak out against racism. Creaming Jesus has a song about that where he says he's ashamed to be white because of all the racists, misogynists, and homophobes. This was before social justice warriors were a thing. So he's not singing in the lines of being a social fucking justice warrior and political correctness. He's saying, I am pro-egalitarianism, and I am a humanitarianism. Or a humanitarian. Not ism. Humanitarian and pro-egalitarianism. And, you know, all these things that restrict and want us to have conformity, well, they're poison, as All About Eve said in one of their songs. Do you think we'll ever make it beyond uniform? I hope so, but I don't think we will. Uniformity, collectivism sucks. It sucks because it hinders individual expression and individuality and individual creativity. It hinders it. Absolutely. So I'll have those links in the description below. Like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell button on any channel you're subscribed to. If you have any further questions after this video, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And remember, I believe in choices, not one's ability to impose one's will on others against their own will.